In a quiet city neighborhood, an old office building stood almost forgotten at night. By day, people rushed in and out, but after sunset, only one person remained inside. His name was Marcus, a young black man in his early 20s, working as a cleaner. He wore a faded uniform, carried a mop, and often stayed long after everyone else had left. What no one knew was that Marcus had a secret. While others went home to rest, he stayed behind, slipping into a small storage room where the light barely worked. With only a dim bulb, and sometimes even just the glow of his phone, he sat on the floor surrounded by books. Marcus dreamed of a different life. He wanted to study engineering, to design machines, and to one day create something that could change lives. But college was expensive, and his paycheck barely covered rent and food. Still, he refused to give up. Every night, after scrubbing floors and emptying trash cans, he would quietly pull out his textbooks and notebooks, determined to teach himself in the shadows. That night, the building was quieter than usual. The security guard had already left, and Marcus thought he was alone. He was deep into a chapter about physics, whispering formulas to himself, when the sound of footsteps echoed through the hallway. His heart raced. No one was supposed to be here. The door creaked open, and a tall figure stepped in. The light from the hallway revealed a man in a sharp suit, carrying a briefcase. Marcus froze, his books scattered around him. It was Mr. Anderson, a well-known millionaire who owned several companies in the city. He had returned to the office late, searching for a document he had left behind. And now he was staring at Marcus, the cleaner, sitting in the dark, studying as if his life depended on it. For a moment, the silence in the room was heavy. Marcus quickly tried to gather his books, embarrassed to be caught like this. He stammered, "I'm sorry, sir. I was just finishing up. I'll get back to work right away." But Mr. Anderson didn't move. Instead, his sharp eyes studied the scene. Dusty storage room, flickering bulb, a young cleaner sitting on the floor with thick textbooks and scribbled notes. It wasn't what he had expected to find in his office at midnight. "What are you doing here?" the millionaire finally asked, his voice firm but curious. Marcus hesitated. He could lie and say he was on break, but the truth pushed its way out. "I'm studying, sir. I want to become an engineer one day. I don't have money for college yet, so I teach myself whenever I can." Mr. Anderson raised an eyebrow. "Studying? In the dark?" Marcus lowered his head. "Yes, sir. It's the only time I have. After cleaning, I use whatever light I can find." He tried to smile, but his voice carried exhaustion. The millionaire stepped closer, picking up one of the books, an old physics textbook with torn pages. He flipped through it, noticing handwritten notes in the margins. Problems solved carefully, equations practiced again and again. This wasn't casual reading. It was dedication. "Do you really think this will change your life?" Mr. Anderson asked. Marcus looked up, his eyes determined despite the shadows. "I know it will. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but I believe knowledge can take me further than a mop ever could." For the first time in years, Mr. Anderson felt something stir inside him, respect. He had met countless people chasing money, but very few chasing knowledge in silence without applause. He set the book down and said softly, "Finish your shift. Tomorrow meet me in my office. We need to talk." Marcus's heart pounded. He had no idea what that meant, but he knew his life might be about to change. The next morning, Marcus arrived at the office earlier than usual. His hands trembled as he adjusted his uniform. He had barely slept, replaying Mr. Anderson's words over and over. "Tomorrow, meet me in my office. We need to talk." He kept wondering what it could mean. Was he in trouble for using the storage room? Would he lose his job? He couldn't afford that. Rent was already late, and his mother relied on him to help with bills. But a small spark of hope kept whispering. Maybe, just maybe, something good was about to happen. At exactly 9, Marcus knocked on the polished wooden door of the top-floor office. "Come in," a voice called. Inside, the office was nothing like the dark storage room he had studied in. Sunlight poured through tall windows, glinting off glass shelves filled with awards and photographs of Mr. Anderson shaking hands with governors, CEOs, and scientists. The millionaire sat behind a large desk, his suit immaculate, his expression unreadable. "Sit down, Marcus," he said, gesturing to a chair. Marcus obeyed, clutching his notebook tightly. "I thought about what I saw last night," Mr. Anderson began slowly. "Most cleaners I know finish their work and go home. But you stay back in the dark to study." "Why?" Marcus swallowed hard. "Because I don't want to spend my whole life cleaning offices, sir. My mom raised me alone, working 2 jobs. She taught me that hard work matters. But she also told me education is the only way to break free. I can't pay for college yet, but I won't waste time waiting. So I study now, however I can." For a long moment, Mr. Anderson said nothing. Then he leaned back in his chair. "When I was your age, I was broke too. No one believed I'd build anything. But someone once gave me a chance, and I took it. That's why I'm here today." Marcus's eyes widened. He could hardly believe the man sitting across from him, the millionaire everyone admired, was once like him. Mr. Anderson tapped his desk thoughtfully. "Tell me, Marcus, if money wasn't a problem, what would you do with your life?" Marcus didn't hesitate. "I'd go to college. I'd become an engineer. And I'd build machines that could help people who struggle every day, machines that make life easier for families like mine." Something in his voice struck a chord with Mr. Anderson. For the first time, the man smiled. "Good," he said. "Then maybe I can help you." Marcus blinked, unsure if he had heard correctly. "Help me?" The word sounded almost unreal. Mr. Anderson leaned forward, his elbows resting on the desk. "I don't make promises lightly, Marcus. But when I see potential, I invest in it. Last night, I saw more determination in you than I've seen in many people with far more opportunities. You reminded me of myself." Marcus's throat tightened. He wanted to speak, but the weight of the moment left him silent. Mr. Anderson continued. "Here's the truth. I built my fortune because someone once believed in me. They gave me a scholarship, a chance to prove myself. Without that, I'd still be stuck in a factory. I think it's time I passed that gift on to someone else." Marcus's hands trembled against his notebook. "Sir, are you saying?" "Yes," Mr. Anderson said firmly. "I'll cover your college tuition, but not as charity. I want to see results. I'll expect grades, dedication, and commitment. If you can prove yourself, I'll make sure finances never stand in your way." For a second, Marcus couldn't breathe. The storage room, the late nights, the exhaustion, all of it had led to this moment. Tears welled in his eyes, but he quickly blinked them away, not wanting to look weak. I won't let you down," Marcus whispered. "You won't regret this." Mr. Anderson nodded. "I believe you. But remember, this is only the beginning. Life will test you. People will doubt you. The world will try to pull you back down. But if you keep that fire I saw last night, nothing will stop you." Marcus felt his chest swell with hope he hadn't known in years. For once, the future didn't look like a locked door. It looked like a path opening before him. As he left the office, clutching his books tighter than ever, Marcus whispered to himself, "This is my chance. I won't waste it." What he didn't know was that his journey was about to become harder and more surprising than he could ever imagine. Marcus walked home that evening with a different kind of weight on his shoulders. His backpack was still heavy with books, but his heart carried something far more powerful: hope. For the first time, he felt like his dream wasn't just a fantasy. Someone important, someone powerful, believed in him. But hope also brought fear. What if I fail? What if I let him down? The thought of wasting such an opportunity kept gnawing at him. At home, his mother noticed a change in his face immediately. She was tired from her double shift at the diner, her apron still on, but when Marcus told her what had happened, her eyes filled with tears. "Baby," she whispered, holding his hands tightly. "God finally opened a door for you. Don't be afraid. Walk through it." Those words stayed with Marcus as days turned into weeks. Mr. Anderson kept his word. Arrangements were made, forms filled out, and tuition secured. When the acceptance letter finally arrived, Marcus held it in shaking hands. He's really sending me to college. On his first day, the campus overwhelmed him. Bright lecture halls, students carrying laptops, professors discussing advanced theories. Marcus felt like an outsider. He wore second-hand clothes, carried old books, and commuted from his small apartment after long cleaning shifts. Some students whispered. Some even laughed at his worn-out shoes. But every time doubt crept in, he remembered that dim storage room, the sound of Mr. Anderson's voice and his mother's tired smile. He stayed late in the library, studied harder than anyone, and refused to give up. One evening, while solving a complex engineering problem, a professor paused behind him. "Impressive work," the professor said, raising an eyebrow. "You got something special. Where did you learn to think like that?" Marcus smiled faintly. "In the dark." The professor chuckled, not knowing how true those words were. Yet as Marcus's talent began to shine, so did the challenges. Not everyone was happy to see a cleaner's son rising so fast. Jealousy brewed among some classmates, and whispers followed him wherever he went. Marcus didn't know it yet, but his biggest test was still waiting, one that would push him harder than scrubbing floors ever had. Weeks rolled into months. Marcus became known as a quiet but brilliant student. Professors admired his work ethic, while some classmates looked at him with silent respect. Still, there were others who whispered behind his back, mocking his background. One evening, during a group project, the tension boiled over. A student named Tyler, whose father was a wealthy donor to university, sneered at Marcus. "Why are we letting the janitor's kid lead this assignment? He probably learned engineering from YouTube." The group laughed, but Marcus stayed calm. He had dealt with worse. "It doesn't matter where knowledge comes from," he said evenly. "What matters is how you use it." That night, Marcus worked twice as hard, designing a solution the professor later called remarkable. The praise stung Tyler, who began seeing Marcus not just as a rival, but as a threat. Meanwhile, Mr. Anderson continued to watch from a distance. He would occasionally call Marcus into his office, asking about classes, checking on his progress. Each time, Marcus arrived with detailed notes and heart full of gratitude. "I'll make you proud," he would always say. One day, however, Mr. Anderson presented Marcus with something unexpected, a challenge. "There's a real problem one of my companies is facing," he explained. "Our engineers can't seem to fix it. I want to see how you think. Come up with a solution." Marcus felt his pulse quicken. This wasn't homework. This was real life. He took the blueprints, studied them late into the night, and scribbled possible designs until his hands ached. After days of trial and error, he returned to Mr. Anderson with a prototype idea. The millionaire studied the notes, then slowly smiled. "Brilliant. Better than what my team proposed. You may not realize it, Marcus, but this is your first step into the real world." For Marcus, the words felt like sunlight breaking through clouds. He was no longer just a cleaner studying in the dark. He was proving himself. But success always comes with shadows. Tyler, hearing rumors of Marcus's growing connection with Mr. Anderson, grew more determined to bring him down. And soon, Marcus would find himself caught in a storm he never expected. Tyler's jealousy didn't stay hidden for long. Whispers turned into rumors, and soon Marcus found himself the center of unwanted attention. Some classmates claimed he only succeeded because of Mr. Anderson's money, not his talent. Others suggested he was being handpicked unfairly, skipping steps others had to climb. Marcus tried to ignore the noise, but it stung. He had worked nights scrubbing floors, studied under broken lights, and earned every ounce of knowledge. Still, the cruel words echoed in his mind. One afternoon, while walking across campus, Marcus overheard Tyler speaking loudly to a group. "He's just a cleaner who got lucky. Without Anderson, he'd still be mopping bathrooms. Watch, he'll crash the first time something real hits him." Marcus clenched his fists but kept walking. He refused to give Tyler the satisfaction of a reaction. Instead, he poured his frustration into his studies. Weeks later, an opportunity arose that would silence every doubt. The university announced a major competition. Teams of students would design a working prototype to solve an everyday problem. Investor, professors, and even business leaders would be watching. Marcus's professor encouraged him to join. "You've got the vision," she said. "This could be your chance to prove yourself publicly." Marcus agreed, forming a small team with two supportive classmates. To his surprise, Tyler formed a rival team, loudly declaring he would crush Marcus. The project consumed Marcus's life. He stayed in labs until midnight, building, testing, failing, and rebuilding. His design was bold, a low-cost machine that could purify water using solar energy, something that could change lives in poor communities like the one he grew up in. Finally, the day of the competition arrived. The auditorium buzzed with excitement, rows of judges seated at the front. Marcus spotted Mr. Anderson among them, watching closely. When it was his turn, Marcus stood beside his invention. His hands trembled as he began. I grew up in a neighborhood where clean water wasn't always guaranteed. Tonight, I want to show you a solution that could change that. The machine powered on, the system running flawlessly. The crowd leaned in, murmurs spreading through the room. Judges nodded, impressed. But Tyler wasn't about to let Marcus steal the spotlight without a fight. And what he did next would shock everyone as Marcus finished his demonstration. The audience broke into applause. Professors whispered excitedly. Investors leaned forward, and Mr. Anderson gave the faintest nod of approval. For the first time, Marcus felt he truly belonged in that room. But then Tyler stepped up, smirking. "Judges," he said loudly, "before you get too impressed, you should know this design isn't original. I've seen similar concepts online." He probably copied it. The room fell silent. Marcus's stomach dropped. Whispers rippled across the auditorium, doubt spreading like fire. Mr. Anderson's eyes narrowed, but he didn't intervene. This was Marcus's moment. He had to defend himself. Taking a deep breath, Marcus stepped forward. His voice shook at first, but then steadied with conviction. "It's true. I've read research papers and studied other designs. But that's what learning is. Building on knowledge that already exists. What makes this different is how it's adapted. My machine is affordable, portable, and built with parts that communities can access easily. That's not a copy, it's innovation." The judges leaned in, examining his blueprints again. One of them asked technical questions, and Marcus answered each with precision, his months of late-night study shining through. Slowly, the doubt faded. When the results were announced, Marcus's team won first place. The auditorium erupted in cheers. Tyler's smirk vanished, replaced by a bitter glare, while Marcus stood in stunned silence, clutching his award. Later, as the crowd dispersed, Mr. Anderson approached him. "You didn't just build a machine tonight," he said quietly. "You built respect, and that's something money can't buy." Marcus felt tears sting his eyes. "Thank you, sir, for believing in me when no one else did." Mr. Anderson placed a hand on his shoulder. "You earned this, Marcus, and this is only the beginning. The world is waiting for what you'll build next." As Marcus looked out at the cheering crowd, he remembered the nights in the dark storage room, the sound of his mop on cold floors, the flicker of that broken bulb, and he realized he would never be in the shadows again. He had stepped into the light, and nothing could stop him now.